8 years at AFL level, 75 games across 2 clubs, and suddenly the dream was over and it was time to go home. G'day Swans fans, if you love the club like I do, hit that subscribe button because today we're talking about a story that reminds us that footy doesn't end when the AFL dream finishes. Sometimes it's just beginning. Ben Paton is heading home, back to the border, back to where it all began. The 27-year-old defender who spent 8 years in the AFL system, 7 with St Kilda, 1 with Sydney, has been delisted by the Swans. His AFL journey is over. 75 games, a career that took him from Midi United to the biggest stages in Australian sport. But this isn't a story about endings. This is about what comes next. Paton signed with the Albury Tigers for their 150th anniversary season, and the club couldn't be more excited. We're thrilled to welcome Ben to the sports ground, their announcement read, a local talent from Midda who has long been on the Tigers' radar. Long been on their radar. That's the detail that matters, because while Paton was battling at AFL level, trying to cement a spot, trying to prove he belonged, his local club back home never stopped watching, never stopped hoping, never stopped believing that one day he'd come back. And now he has. Not as a failure, not as someone whose career didn't work out, but as a local hero returning to give back to the community that made him. This is the story most people don't tell about AFL players, the ones who don't become superstars, the ones who fight for every game, the ones who give everything to the dream and then have to figure out what comes next when it ends. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back. Ben Paton was drafted by St Kilda in 2017, pick 65, 4th round, the kind of selection that doesn't make headlines but represents everything about having a crack at the dream. He came from Midi United, a small club in the border region, the kind of place where footy is life, where every kid dreams of making it to the AFL, where the entire community rallies around anyone who gets a shot. And Paton got his shot. 7 seasons with the Saints, 71 games. Not a star, not a household name, but a reliable defender who did his job. A bloke who earned the respect of his teammates and coaches by showing up and competing every week. But AFL football is brutal. It doesn't care about your story. It doesn't care how hard you've worked. If you're not in the best 22, you're expendable. After 7 years at St Kilda, Paton found himself looking for a lifeline, and Sydney gave him one. 1 season, 4 games. That's all he got with the Swans. 4 opportunities to show he could still compete at AFL level. 4 chances to extend a career that had already spanned nearly a decade. It wasn't enough. At the end of 2025, Sydney made the call. Paton was delisted. At 27 years old, with 75 AFL games to his name, his top-level career was over. Now here's where most people would see failure. A bloke who couldn't make it stick, who got a second chance and couldn't capitalise, who's going back to local footy because he wasn't good enough for the big time. But that's not what this story is about. Because while Paton was navigating his AFL career, bouncing between Melbourne and Sydney, trying to find his place, something else was happening back home. The Albury Tigers were watching, keeping in touch, building a relationship. It's been a long time in the making, with the club keeping in regular touch with Ben, their statement said.
Think about that. Years of maintaining contact. Years of letting him know there's a place for him when he's ready. Years of seeing beyond the AFL status and recognising the person, the player, the connection to community. The call came. Sydney was moving in a different direction. For most players, that's a devastating moment. You've dedicated your life to this. Every training session, every sacrifice, every moment away from family and friends. And now, it's over. But for Paton, there was something waiting. Not just another footy club, but home. The Albury Tigers. competing in the Ovens and Murray Football Netball League. Not the AFL, not the VFL, local footy. And you know what? That's not a step down, that's a homecoming. Because at Albury, Patton won't just be another player trying to hold on to a list spot. He'll be surrounded by mates. The club's 2 senior coaches, they were his teammates back in the day. Ex-Bushies together. Surrounded by plenty of mates at the club, the Tigers announcement emphasised. The timing couldn't be better. What would you have done? You're 27, you've played 75 AFL games. You could probably chase another contract somewhere, another VFL club, another lifeline, another year of uncertainty. Or you could go home, play with your mates, be part of something special, the club's 150th anniversary season. Bring your partner, your family, put down roots. Build a life beyond just footy. Patton chose home. And that takes courage. Because our culture tells us that anything less than the AFL is failure. That if you're not at the top level, you didn't make it, that returning to local footy means your career didn't work out. But here's the part that changes everything. Patton's career did work out. 75 AFL games. That's 75 more than most kids who dream of playing ever achieve. That's 8 years of competing at the highest level. That's a career to be proud of. And now, he gets to bring all that experience, all that knowledge, all that professionalism back to his community. Back to the region that produced him. Back to inspire the next generation of kids from Mitta, from Albury, from the border region who dream of making it. The Albury Tigers are absolutely stoked. You can feel it in their announcement. This isn't just signing a player. This is welcoming back one of their own. We're absolutely stoked and incredibly fortunate to have Ben, his partner Tess, and their families join the Tiger family ahead of this milestone year. Tess, his partner, his family. That's what makes this real. This isn't a temporary stopover. This is a life decision. The local footy community around the border region is buzzing. They've watched Patton's AFL career from afar, celebrated every game, felt every delisting, and now they get to see him play in person every week. For the kids coming through at Albury, at Mitta, at all the local clubs in the area, having someone with 75 AFL games training with them, playing alongside them, showing them what elite preparation looks like, that's invaluable. Swan supporters probably have mixed feelings. We had Patton for 1 season, 4 games, not enough time to really know him. But if you're a true footy fan, you appreciate what he represents, the battlers, the depth players, the blokes who make lists work even if they're not the stars. And you wish him well, because footy's bigger than just the AFL. It's about community, it's about coming home, it's about what happens after the dream. This reminds me of countless players who've returned to local footy after AFL careers. Some bitter, some lost, some unsure of their place in the world. But the ones who thrive, they're the ones who embrace it, who see the opportunity to give back, who understand that their journey doesn't end when the AFL career finishes, it just changes. For Patton, this could be the start of something special. He's young enough to play quality local footy for years, experienced enough to be a leader, connected enough to make a real impact on his community. For the Albury Tigers, having someone with his experience could be transformational. They finished 7th in 2025 with 8 wins from 18 matches. Add a 75-game AFL defender who knows what professionalism looks like. That changes the culture. For the kids in the Ovens and Murray League, seeing Patton every week is proof that AFL dreams are possible. That someone from their region, from their clubs, made it. And even if the AFL chapter closes, there's still joy and purpose and meaning in the game at every level. What happens next? The 2026 season starts, Patton pulls on the Tigers jumper, and we watch whether this homecoming becomes one of the great local footy stories or just another chapter in a long career. At the end of the day, this is what footy is really about. Not just the AFL, not just the glory and the spotlight, but the community, the connections, the journey from local grounds to the big stage and back again. Ben Patton's AFL dream is over. But his footy story? That's just entering a new chapter. And sometimes, coming home is the bravest thing you can do. Let me know in the comments if you've seen ex-AFL players thrive at local level, or if you think Patton will be a game changer for Albury. Hit like if you respect the journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Up the Bloods!